And now we are live. So I created the doc where we have one issue right now. I sent you the link also, Joel, so that you can get on the doc. There's one issue that I wanted to talk about, but is there anything else people want to talk about?
Oh, nothing major, just the potential entire rewrite into the Drupal theme system. No big deal.
That might take a while.
Yeah, so one of the things was the Node.js issue, but before that, because that is going to take forever, I wanted to ask if anyone of you has been active on the Drupal questions, and if you have any remarks from there.
I haven't looked at it at all.
I think Kotter has a good site, but
yeah, Scott actually does a lot in there.
Yeah.
What is Drupal questions? I'm not familiar with what you're talking
Drupal
about.
answers. I'm sorry. Drupal answers, obviously.
The Stack Exchange.
Yeah.
Drupal answers, yeah.
Okay, no.
So it's the Stack Exchange for the Drupal.
Is there a lot going on there right now or something?
Yeah, there is quite a lot happening right now. Lots of people asking questions about Drupal 8 and Drupal 8 teaming.
Oh.
So the reason why I wanted to ask if there is, because we are now kind of like in the free development phase, and if there's any remarks that we would have made, we could probably try to fix those for the 8.1, because I think there is quite a few people complaining about the TX of Drupal 8, but yeah.
Is there a main concern that kind of seems to be surfacing from those questions, or is it just general?
General confusing about the way theme system works, and some confusing about Twig. Then there is also many of the problems are also related for some of the tests or examples in core, giving a bad example for people, and then they're breaking stuff by just copying the
like using the test as the example?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I would usually do that too.
Yeah, and that's fair.
Probably because there's too many kids. Just kidding.
So probably we need to file issue for that and try to fix those. But
the one thing I'm aware of that I keep seeing complaints for is the inability for us to check regions anymore with the whole cache layer business. That's coming up, keeps coming up a lot. I think it's one of the bigger problems. I don't think there's any real solution for it, because it really changes the way people have to do things.
There's not a good solution for it at all.
No. Other than, I mean, JavaScript is the only solution that seems to work right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
I agree with that.
It gets compounded because we had that problem in Drupal 7. We still have that problem in Drupal 7. But it gets compounded because now we're dealing with these placeholders. And the placeholders need the markup so you can't check to see if it's empty because the placeholders need the markup to replace it with JavaScript once the actual markup's ready. So whenever you're dealing with like dynamic content that needs to come in like later than the rest of the page load, it'll be replaced with JavaScript, and you need a little placeholder thing there, so you can't use that as a little test to see if it's empty or not. So it's kind of like a catch-22, and that makes it even harder to solve that problem. It was hard already to start with, but now it's much harder.
Damn it, David.
But there still with the idea behind the way that one solution is to have some kind of identifier on the actual render array, and in later releases on like a smart object that could tell you if it's empty or not. So an is empty kind of flag that you could actually turn off and on depending on certain things. So that way, If it had like a pre and a suffix tag, then if the contents was empty, you could still flag the thing as empty, and you wouldn't have to check to see if the rendered output was empty. You could just check to see if that flag is empty. But
right, but will that help you further along, like when you're checking other regions? I mean, the big issue is being able to check a region when you're actually at the page level, not just on the individual regions themselves.
yeah, and the I think with the JavaScript replacement thing, it's still impossible to do that. So if you're using placeholders, I think you're out of luck with that kind of like is-empty checks. If you're not using placeholders, I think we can solve this problem or get something that's workable anyways. But if you are using placeholders, then it's going to be a really tricky thing to deal with. It's a different concept entirely, so I think it needs maybe a different solution. Maybe more along those JavaScript or CSS solutions that are popping up in that issue. That's my thought on that one. I would like to separate those two things because the problems combined together just make things like almost unapproachable.
Any other remarks? So I don't think Morten was from the beginning, so we are now discussing about Drupal answers, remarks, / questions people have in general. Is there anything that we could possibly fix for the 8.1? Any small things or a little bit bigger things?
Yes, I have one I came around that I want to get in, and that's that's just two little pre-processes or identifier variables inside of a field. So a field knows which content type called it and which name it is. So you can. The idea is, I have a patch coming up at some point, and when I get the time for it, the idea is that if your field have a context of what content type called me or what my name is, and that a field does not have no idea about that right now, that's one thing I think would be a logical thing to figure out. Because now that we can work with fields for reals, that would be a huge win. I've come into it a bunch of times now, so I've loaded that into my standard pre-process, and I would like to see us having that in core. Else, I'm still a little bit burned down with the cheat after the release, to be honest, and Christmas break didn't do me any good because work happened. And now I see this Dries policy, whatever the fuck, coming in from the door, and God damn it. But else, I don't know. I just think that we need to harden what we can. I would love to see us really work on the forms, because forms is still a pain in the ass to work with. They're very much hard-coded still with max length and all kinds of attributes that is defined very deep into Drupal core. I would love to see that getting out at least closer to the templates. So, and I have an issue around it somewhere. I hope this weekend we can get a little bit of work done on at least getting and plan up where I want to see it.
Also, forms do not have theme suggestions by default, I don't think. I ran into that where, like, Twig debug is great, but there's some things that don't have any theme suggestions, so you're like, now what?
It's the
For
same
most
thing with
people.
themes.
Yeah.
Maybe we should actually look into both of them and say, okay, let's get some theme suggestions, and do we have the theme suggestions out of the box that we really need? I mean, one of the things I would love to see us not having in the future was another mothership, another send, another whatever it can be that like tries to put in too much logic into how to do stuff. So it gets easier for us down the road when you come in as a project on a new theme and you open it up and you're like, where does all this come from? Maybe that would be a good idea. That would be nice to see on 8.1. I mean, I kind of see 8.1 as like first version of having in it, but still people is. I mean, I was on a podcast yesterday where I got the questions of where do we learn all this stuff, where do we find all this stuff. So there's a big lack of knowledge right now.
I think some of the stuff we have to actually give it a try too, like your forums. If there's no suggestions and you need suggestions, it's of course easy to make suggestions in your own themes. If you start seeing a pattern where it actually becomes useful, then maybe something that we can kind of bump up is like, okay, well, this seems useful for me to see if other people need it and stuff, instead of just checking in there just because we need some extra ones by default. We want to make sure that we don't add stuff unnecessarily, because we did that before. We have done that before in the past, and it's probably just nicer if we don't have extra suggestions or we don't need them. Because then the theme system's looking for suggestions and they're not.
I mean, maybe it would be an idea to open up an issue around what kind of theme suggestions do we want to have for template, for views, what kind do we want to have for forms, to get some kind of pattern in that makes sense. So it's not going to be whatever I need right now on this one site I'm making, and then I have to, you know.
Yeah. If you have something obvious, it makes sense to make an issue for it. But if it's just discussing what generic things, or when people haven't even used it, you're gonna just make work for yourself.
I mean, that was how our fields got so many class names in, because people tried to put everything in that they could possibly find, and that turned out to be kind of.
That's what I'm saying. So if you actually find something that you really do need, then it's something that definitely open up an issue for it. But if you're just theorizing that people need suggestions for things, then it might be worth kind of rethinking that a little bit and kind of wait until you actually need it before you start putting it in. That's just to avoid burnout on doing things that it's like make work projects for everybody.
Oh yeah. The things that
trying to predict the future and stuff.
Yeah.
But if you do like, why don't we have this kind of suggestion? Definitely make an issue for it.
So I just have to run for 1 second. I'll be back.
Does that make sense, Mark?
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, I don't want to make. I think we should be making suggestions where they're needed. I just don't know if you don't have you might end up in a bike shed conversation if we don't have an actual use case that we're trying to solve in a production site.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I was just commenting that, like, I was looking at a search form, and it was not clear like how I could easily change things without.
Oh yeah, because each piece inside of that is all individual form pieces, and so.
Right, they're all individual form elements, and there's no theme suggestions for them.
Yeah.
So it's like the search block, and that's not going to be an uncommon thing. Like, oh, there's a search block. I mean, most people want to have some sort of search input in their header or whatever.
And I struggle with the same problem.
Yeah.
So I guess we could take that as an example use case.
Yeah, search component classes as well, so that all the input elements can have BEM style classes on it at least, so you can style them without even having to do a suggestion. But you probably need a suggestion as a start to do the actual change. So
be a time saver. I'm going to have to head out in 10 minutes, so I'd really love it if we could talk at least a little bit about this whole Node.js stuff.
Yeah. Okay. I just saw that the two people who's coming up with it is, funny enough, Acquia employees. It sounds like a thing that's been discussed at an office there, to be honest. I mean, last time Dries talked about the front end, he talked about putting Bootstrap into core and fixing all of the issues. I can see it as an idea of, well, in Drupal 9 we want to implement this, but to me it's very diffuse, and I kind of don't even want to use time on it, to be honest. It's one of these things where is it because of, oh no, WordPress.com want to change their way to Node.js, and Node.js is the hot shit. I mean, 5 years ago we heard about the Ruby. People were like, hey, let's change to Ruby. So I mean, that's kind of my opinion on it. I don't really want to go into that fight, to be honest. If somebody wants, also because I think it gets very maybe kind of technical on a level where like some of the reason that PHP template turned out to be such a clusterfuck because the people who built the system weren't the people who were actually adding the designs and the markup and the CSS to Drupal. It was technicians.
So let's just real quickly define here what exactly this is. And I think, just so we're all on the same page here, my understanding here is that Dries would like for Drupal to be, once the page is loaded, that interactions happen on a much faster basis, and selecting a JS framework to make that happen. His focus appears to be primarily on the administrative interface, at least initially, but there's also a side proposal from Alex Bronstein to render all of Drupal, both the user-facing side as well as the administrative side, with Node.js, and reworking basically the entire theme system with that. And which obviously would have big implications. Dries has a big post up there about comparing all the different JS frameworks that are things that could be considered. So the top ones are React, Angular 2, and Ember. Ember is the one that he seems to be leaning towards, primarily because of licensing issues, and also because it seems to check the boxes that he's looking for. He brought in a number of people to discuss that and evaluate these different options. So it's kind of being presented as we should all select the JS framework that we're going to use going forward. I'm a little bit frustrated because it feels like it's just being said, hey, now we're going to use a JS framework for Drupal because, Dries is the benevolent dictator, so he can decide that. But
well, yeah.
But it's like we just put in years of work getting this to this point to get Twig. People are excited about it. People are excited about being able to more easily work with, directly with the markup. If we change all over to JS, then, and let's say we're using Ember, then, I saw maybe that uses handlebars instead, and it's similar to Twig, but still, it's a giant effort of things. And how much does JS change in the time that we're making this effort to completely change things over? I'm just disheartened because it feels like we just finished this, and now we're being told from on high, time to change everything again.
Well, that's why I'm saying that I see this as an academic discussion between people who's not, at least from what I see, theming is, which is implementing designs and making stuff look pretty and working that way. That this is not done by that group of people. It's a whole other group of people, and it's the same. At the end of the day, have fun, go out and build it. If it seems to be better at that point, it's great. I don't see that happening, to be honest. It's, as I said, 5 years ago, we heard people wanted to rewrite Drupal in Ruby because Ruby was the hot shit, and then there was another system that was the hot shit. So,
right, but I don't think this is a discussion of discussion by people who are not themers, designers, talking about a themer designer thing. I think they are talking mostly about a functional part of the system.
Yeah.
I agree mostly with Mark's summary, except for one point. I don't think that. I think Dries is mostly coming at this from the perspective of we need to make sure that these interfaces work better and that they're faster and the experience is better. I don't know that he necessarily. I don't think he actually cares about the whole concept of having a JS framework. I think he's just he's trying to start the conversation and has started the conversation, and it's probably he's getting pushed in that direction. I think if there was some solution that didn't involve a JS framework that satisfied what he wanted, he'd be like, all right, great, we won't use Angular or React or any of these other things. But I think he's exploring that because that's the direction that this sort of thing has pushed him, and he's just creating the conversation so that he can get ahead of it instead of having this conversation 2 years from now, and then everyone says, oh, well, it's going to take too much time to do all this sort of stuff. He's sort of starting it from the beginning, which I don't think is a bad thing. So in that respect, it is very academic. I don't imagine that this is something where they're going to make a decision and say, yeah, we're going to rewrite it all using Ember. We're going to start this summer, and let's get to it. If that happens, then yeah, that would sound like a colossal mistake. I think it's more like we're going to spend 2 years talking about this.
I don't get the impression that they're looking at that sort of time frame. I agree that I totally agree that's what the goal is. Just make it, snappier. But I really get the impression they want this to happen on a shorter time frame than that.
What do you mean shorter time frame? Like 8 or 9 or what?
Getting things in 8-point feature releases.
So one thing that
I don't see that happening, honestly. I mean, there's simply two.
I mean, if we rewrite in some other framework, that's definitely not happening in 8.
They might add the framework in and not do anything with it for 8, but probably if they decide on one. That's if they decide on one. But I'm sure they'll have, like David said, they'll take a couple of years to decide which one's the best. And by that time, they might change to Angular 3, and then it'll be that. But at least they'll have like a good discussion on which ones will fit their needs better.
What I would like to see is if we actually move, start finding solutions for all the component stuff that we keep talking about, and then that provides the basis for us to start delving into this framework stuff, and then making a more generic system for that, where then people can use whatever they want.
Unfortunately, I have to head to another meeting, but hope you all have a great day and everything. So.
No worries.
Bye. See you. Bye. Yeah, bye. So,
I mean, my only thing is if what'll probably happen is if you make something generic where people can use whatever framework they want, and people build like the Angular version of this system and the React version of this system and the Ember version of this system, all that sort of stuff, Core is probably going to have to pick one to use for itself. And as soon as that happens, that's going to become the de facto default, right? If we choose React, then everyone who's going to start using it is going to say, well, I'll just use React for my project. Since Drupal already uses it, why bother trying to do something else?
Yeah, that's a good point, because actually, if that's something that they could do, then they might be able to do it outside of, like in contrib type thing, where you could do all 3 of them and kind of see which one actually.
Yeah, that's what I'd want. I'd want to see like a project on Drupal.org that is the Angular 2 system for this and the React system for this, and then people just concentrate on working on those things in contrib, and then Core just has the generic theme system component that lets that happen, and maybe it just still uses Twig, but then using one of these other projects, it's easy to just sort of like swap that service out.
Mm-hmm. Just like Lowry's theme system service replacement.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense to start the discussion now, because there's it is a thing that a lot of people are talking about, and so for the reason that I'm not even close on Mark's frustration is, I mean, we're just getting 8 out the door. This is 5,000 hours of work and discussions and bike shedding and figuring out which system, and so. And it could be that would be the next logical step for the front end that we want to build, or something completely different happens, which we do not know. So I'm definitely not closing any doors, but I'm just my biggest reason for hammering on Twig and getting Twig in was it was such a pain in the ass for those who just work in the design, implementation, whatever, to get out what we wanted. And the idea of bundling on more tools makes me tired. Because
something that is very interesting is that the Drupal 9 development shouldn't be open till next 2-3 years.
Yeah, it's
We're
a
already driving the technical direction of the Drupal 9 theme system now. So it's very interesting, and especially considering the fact that we are making decisions about the technologies being used in Drupal 9, and we cannot start developing it in the next 3 years, or who knows how long. So
I think
it seems very vague for me because of that.
Yes. So basically, I mean, let's see what happens. It's interesting. It could be fun. It could change a lot of things. Maybe another system pops up, which probably will, and then that's JavaScript for you. I mean, getting a mature project in JavaScript is almost impossible. So unless it's jQuery anyway. So yeah. Another thing, David, I don't know if I can make it to New Jersey. I would love to, but I know, but I have to like figure shit out. I'm going to Florida for the camp down there 2 weeks before mid-camp. So I'm probably going to be 2 weeks in the States. Are people coming in for mid-camp?
Yes.
I'll probably be at mid-camp.
Anyone want to share a hotel?
Yeah, or let's get an Airbnb that's big enough for a bunch of us.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be even better. Should we also talk about core sprint weekend or whatever it's called?
In mid-camp?
Oh, the global sprint weekend?
Yeah.
So that's at the same time as the New Jersey camp.
Is it? Oh.
Running a sprint for, I think, 5 days.
Damn.
I would love to come to that, but I'm trying to organize a sprint here too in Vancouver. So I unfortunately can't do.
We can remotely sprint.
Yeah. Remotely sprint with the New Jersey people.
Yeah, I will be in New Jersey.
Is the New Jersey one specifically targeting something like they were doing menu stuff last year?
No, because we don't have a grant. We're just doing it for the global sprint.
Okay.
So we're sprinting Friday, which is when we have our training, and then the camp is Saturday.
Is that the 29th?
Yeah, I think that's the 29th. The camp is the 30th. We'll have a sprint room during the camp, but most people will probably just be at the camp. Then Sunday we sprint, and we also do like a mentor day for new people. And then Monday and Tuesday after that, we're sprinting.
Nice. Probably, yeah. I'll try to make myself available for the Monday, Tuesday.
It should be pretty good. I mean, it seems like the whole Chicago crew is coming. Daniel Vayner's coming. A couple other out-of-town people are coming. We're still trying to get Tim Plunkett to come. He's being very iffy, even though he.
Plunkett is down in Philly. It's just a train ride.
I know. I'm like, what the hell, Tim? He's like, oh, I'm not sure yet.
And that's like me bitching about going to Germany. I mean,
probably less so.
Yeah, even less. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like an hour drive.
Jesus.
But he might have something on his schedule. I don't know. Anyway, it should be good. We've been pretty productive, so that should be nice.
I think we're doing a bit of contrib stuff at the Drupal, at our sprint. We'll be doing some theme system if I can find some people to work on theme system stuff. But I think we're going to be doing contrib stuff, and I'm going to try to get somebody to help me with menu attributes conversion because I need help with that. And then
Okay.
Also,
Yeah,
like
our plan was mostly to do Drupal 8 module upgrades.
yeah,
You're gonna work on the
and
menu attributes module. We could do that too. I could schedule some
oh,
people.
it would be. And if Peter's there, because he knows a lot about menu system, it would be cool to talk to him about that.
Oh yeah. So if you want me to
I
add
talked to
that,
him a little bit on that. Yeah.
I can add it to the plate, and we could totally get it upgraded during the sprint.
Sweet. Yeah, and yeah, Peter. I talked to Peter a little bit about approach on that, so I think we're on the same page on what to do. I just have to get it done. So, but yeah,
Probably ask him,
I've and then also I'm going to be, because the maintainer, the main maintainers for the basic theme are there. We're just going to slam on that one. It's pretty much done. It just needs a bit of like touch up and clean up and maybe some architectural changes for Drupal 8. But yeah, basic's going to get upgraded as well. Basic, the theme. And some people are using Basic right now, and on the the Vancouver chat, they're talking about it and provided feedback on it as well. And I heard Boyan also is wanting or is using it for his blog.
That's it. Yeah, and I'll probably work on Pistachio some more. I need to actually do the theming part of that thing.
Come up with a better logo again. Every time I make a logo, I just want to change it.
What is Pistachio Pony? There is a user called Pistachio Pony.
We're not creating a fucking new theme today. You gotta please fucking site. I leave for the kitchen for 2 seconds, and you're creating a new theme.
Yes, we are.
All right, I'm gonna run off. We're gonna do. So, how are our meetings gonna be this year? Are we keeping the same schedule as here, or how are we gonna do it?
I think we are going to keep the same schedule.
So every other week, and then on
Every week.
Thursday. Every week on Thursdays.
Yes.
Yeah, we haven't scheduled, but we missed a couple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because of the holidays, I think.
Most likely.
Yes.
But it also depends on what's going on.
Yeah.
Because if everybody starts getting busy actually doing work instead of contributing, there's a lot less to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's for sure.
Because Drupal 8 is ready now, we need to build all the Drupal 8 sites. And we are busy building all those Drupal 8 sites.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing about the whole JS framework discussion. Like, can we get a year of actually using it so we can figure out things we like and don't like first?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and that's why I'm not going to. I don't have the time for that discussion whatsoever. It's just to me, it's pure academia at this point, and it's yeah, fuck it. I'm still building for clients Drupal 7 sites, and it drives me batshit. And pretty much my Christmas went off by building Drupal 7 site for a Panic client, so getting my more DK site up in Drupal 8 and having all of my lessons that I learned over speed building a site. That's like this weekend or next weekend that shit is gonna happen. I just want to build Drupal 8 shit now. Yeah. Anyways, I want to jump to the kitchen.
I have the same thing. I'm going to probably try to upgrade my non-CMS site to Drupal and see what happens.
Yes.
Cool.
Nice.
All right, anything else?
I guess we're done.
Yep.
We're done.
Have a good
All
week.
right. Happy New Year's and Christmas, and may the bucks be many and plenty.
Yeah.
Happy New Year too.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Bye.
Bye.